Hi, welcome. Please don't mind my wet hair. I look like a drowned rat. It's fine. Also, please don't mind the mic. It's not very aesthetic, but it's all I have, and the only way it works is if I hold it like this. So here we are with me looking like a fucking idiot. Welcome to my review of possibly the worst book I've ever fucking read. This was so atrocious, and I hated every single thing about it. I have tried to film this video once before. I filmed the entire thing, but I looked through it, and half of the time it was just me saying how much I hated this book, and it was not very coherent, so I'm gonna try again. But now it's been possibly a month since I finished the book, but I'm gonna try my best with I have my trusty notes that I took while reading this. And of course, we're talking about Haunting Adeline. Worst book that I've ever read. And I wish I could bleach my eyes after I read this. But here we are. And if you want more book reviews like this, or just me about books, feel free to subscribe and hang out with me because I do love doing these once in a while. As soon as I open this, I get like war flashbacks. If you're new to my channel, which you probably are, I ramble a lot, and a lot of these videos are just me talking for a really long time about essentially nothing important, but I just like to ramble and talk. So, welcome, enjoy. If you don't know the book Haunting Adeline, let me explain the premise to you. First of all, here is the beautiful cover. The cover is probably the best thing about this book, honestly. So in this book, we follow Adeline, Addie, who inherits this old freebie mansion from her grandmother. I want to say grandmother after she dies, and it's like maybe it's haunted, but we don't really know. And it's just basically like this creepy old house, and there's not a lot around, and she lives there alone. Her mother's not happy with her living there alone, but that's how we start off the book. And we sort of follow Adeline in this book. She is a writer, which seems like the author kind of forgot that she was a writer throughout the book because it was mentioned at the beginning and then it was mentioned at like page 400 out of 500, I would say. So I completely forgot she was a writer too, but I digress. So Addie goes to this book event for her book and she's signing some books and stuff. And she sees this guy in the crowd who has two different colored eyes. And he looks like really mysterious and attractive. That's kind of how the book starts off. And basically, just to give you, like, this is gonna have full spoilers. Just be aware if you were thinking about reading it. I would not recommend reading it, but if you want to do that to yourself, I was gonna say be my guest, but really don't. I don't encourage it. The book is about it's a stalker romance. So she falls in love with her stalker. And I do just want to give like a big disclaimer. Please look up the trigger warnings for this book because there is a lot going on. I mean, it's a really bad book, but there's also a lot of fucked up stuff that happens in this book. So please just go look that up before you decide to read it. And so, yeah, have have fun. Anyways, it's a stalker romance. So obviously, this guy at the book event starts stalking her. And we sort of switch to his POV, Mr. Sade Meadows, I think his last name is. His name is Sade, but he goes by different aliases because he's like doing really important work, stopping all these like trafficking rings and human sacrifice rituals and stuff like that on the side of being a stalker. So that's like his whole thing. When I tell you, there are so many different plots in this book. There's like 5 different plots going on, and none of them are interesting. I was seriously so bored while reading this. It's so boring. And yes, there are like really, really shocking things that happen in this book, but despite those, it's still so boring. And it was just really, really bad. But oh my god. Okay. Well, that's anyways, we this is a duo POV book. So we get both Adeline and Sate's POV. And we start off Sate's POV. He sees her at this book signing, and he has now decided that she will be his. He will own her. And he says, like the romantic that he is, all I want to do is break her, shatter her into pieces, and then arrange those pieces to fit against my own. I don't care if they don't fit. I'll fucking make them. Because I'm obsessed. I'm addicted. Lovely. And he continues on. No matter, she won't be able to escape me now. I've just found myself a little mouse, and I won't stop until I've trapped her. And all my comments in these notes are just me going, help. The fact that I just read. So yes, he is obsessed with her and he wants to own her. He will pretty much do anything to make that happen. So he sounds like obviously like a lovely guy. As you can hear, he sounds like so great and we love him. We continue on with one of the million fucking plots in this book. Addie is inviting a guy over to her house to hook up with him. And as they're doing what they're doing, someone knocks on the door and it's like really creepy in this like old abandoned house. And the guy like runs away or whatever. And then I don't remember if she finds it like right away or if it's like the morning after or something, but she keeps finding roses in her house. But on all these roses, all the thorns have been picked off so she wouldn't prick herself because that's just so fucking cute and romantic. And I thought chivalry was dead, but honestly, so these roses start showing up all over her house and like empty or half drank, I don't know, half emptied whiskey glasses of like her someone's old whiskey. I think in the beginning she keeps reporting it to the police, but they're like, "Oh no, since nothing's happened, we can't do anything." So, it just keeps happening. As we're following this plot and the plot with Sade being like a secret vigilante agent thing, we also, in between every chapter, have these letters or like diary entries from her, Adeline's great grandmother, because she also had a stalker. And we later find out that she was murdered in the house that Adeline is now living in. I think she was murdered in the bedroom that she's staying, but I'm not sure. But yes, so this is also a plot because later on, Adeline will try to solve this murder. So we have stalker romance, vigilante plot, murder plot. Later on, we will also have human sacrifices and cannibalism as a plot, I guess. Sounds bad, I know, right? Back to our main story here. I don't even know what the main story is, okay? I guess it's the romance, but it's not romantic. It's not romance, okay? I know this people say this is dark romance. This is not fucking romance, okay? I don't fucking care. It's not. I hate it. How I'm sorry. Okay. I usually never judge people on what they read, but how can you think this book is good? Okay? I don't see it. I cannot fathom how you could think this book is good. Because even if like could disregard every like creepy thing that happens, it's just really it's just bad. It's boring. Sade is not cool. He's like if you take away again the disgusting things that he does and like just his like other when he's working and stuff, he's like really fucking goofy and lame, okay? I don't care. He is. He's not cool. He's not hot. Okay, well, we continue to follow Adeline, and she has this friend. I'm so sorry, but the only two character names that I remember are Sade and Adeline, okay? Because that's how insignificant all these other people were in this plot. Oh. But I think her friend's name was like Dana or something like that. Something with a D somewhere in there. But she's going out with her friend, and they're going to this bar, and they run into this group of guys. And right off the bat, I was like, these dudes are fucking creepy. But I don't think they noticed that these dudes were creepy. I just think it was me because Adeline ends up going home with one of them, and he's called, I don't remember his name, but he's called something. And they end up going home together and they're having fun at home. And then suddenly Adeline gets a text from this unknown number saying, "Sneaking off with random men, little mouse. If I catch his hands anywhere near you, they'll end up in your mailbox by morning." And then once again, as they're having fun, someone does something to the house. So they get freaked out. And this guy runs outside, doesn't come back. And then line goes outside, and there's just like blood everywhere. And then in the middle of the blood, there's like a rose, and that's it. And she's like, fuck, he's dead. Well, I can tell you, he's not dead yet because Sade, our lovely guy, has kidnapped him and has decided to keep true to his promise. So he literally cuts off his hands and also tortures him and then kills his entire family. I don't know if I can say any of these things on YouTube, but it is what it is. So that's what happens. Morning. She finds a box with the severed hands in them, and Sade is like, he sends her another text. We don't know he's called Sade yet, I think, but he just goes by unknown, or stuff like that. Anyways, he goes, "Don't feel guilty, baby. I don't make idle threats, so consider this a lesson learned." Indeed. But it's all good because you know what? The guy she went home with was actually a scumbag, and his entire family were just like really, really bad people. So he was actually in the right when he killed him. And then he says, I need to sit back for this. He says, "She doesn't understand what true need is. Not yet, but she will, because she's going to hate the way she needs me. She's going to fight it, rebel against the craving, and attempt to search for something else that makes her feel even a fraction of what I will." He is insane! And she goes to try and call the police, but now he's outside her house and he's just like staring at her and like shaking his head. And I went, "Oh, is this a romance book? Not a thriller?" This, to be fair, this would have been like if it was marketed. Also, again, before you say anything, I know this is dark romance, okay? I know it's dark romance. But if this was called like a thriller, it would have worked because he's really fucking creepy, okay? No romance, okay? I don't know. And then as she's looking at him, she thinks to herself, "I don't allow myself to register the defined muscles under his hoodie because only psychos would focus on that right now. Yes, hello, please." And then she tells all of this to her friend, and also the fact that she's not calling the police or something. I don't know, but her friend tells her to like stop, uh, and you're being stupid. And I was like, someone had to say it because sure wasn't listening to me. She comes home after hanging out with a friend, and her entire living room, is covered in roses. Of course, all the thorns are taken off because he is a romantic. We have to remember that he does love her. I was kind of starting to wonder, like, does he actually think that what he is doing is romantic, or does he know that it's really fucking creepy? Does he think it's cute? Because it's really not. And now we're back with like Sade and his entire plot. So what he does is he's like a vigilante who goes and helps women and children who are being trafficked. So he like goes and saves them from all these evil men, and he's being like this is what annoyed me so much, okay? Because all of the bad stuff that he does in this book was being justified all the fucking time by the fact that he does this, that he goes out and like saves all these women and children, and like he, he says so many times like, "Oh, they'll never have to experience this again and they're gonna have like a good life and this is so traumatizing." And I'm like, dude, like, do you hear yourself? And then you go and do what we're gonna get into him doing soon, which I don't want to talk about because it's really fucking traumatizing. But still, this is when I say, like, he's really fucking goofy and lame, okay? I could not take him seriously because he's like, the way he's described is like when he's like shooting people and stuff. It sounds so goofy. And then he's like also a hacker and he can hack into like anything. He can do everything on a computer. Like, what made him lame is that nothing ever goes wrong, okay? He can do literally anything. He has a plan for everything. Like, nothing goes wrong, which is just stupid, okay? It's just stupid. It's dumb. And it annoyed me so much. And he's not cool. He's just a little goofy computer guy, okay? And then he's giving us a little spiel about her. And he says, "In the beginning, I tried so hard to forget her. I tried to run, but I couldn't get her out of my mind. I went home from that bookstore and attempted to talk myself down. But it seemed the more I struggled to convince the beast inside of me to leave her alone, the more it raged." Yes. So, at least he tried, I guess. Now, we're about 180 pages in, and this is where the most baffling fucking scene happens. And I literally can't say this, I think, I do not also want to say this on the internet. So I know I'm laughing, okay? But this is so fucking wild. He breaks into her house, and right now, it's from her POV, and I think at this point, he has her like pinned down or pinned up against the wall or something. And she's like, "Despite the ugly scar, it only serves to heighten his utter beauty. A jawline so sharp, he could cut diamonds with it. A straight aristocratic nose, full lips, and short black hair, just long enough to run your hands through. This is wrong, so wrong." He's literally just broken into their fucking house, and he might murder you. Like, stop, please. I hate this. Again, I won't go into details. I'll try my best to still describe what happens. But please, like, fair warning, there's gonna be some stuff now without consent. So just if you don't wanna stay for that, that is totally fair. So he corners her, I think, in like the hallway or something. And then he's like, "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to allow you the opportunity to run and hide. If I find you, then I will deliver your punishment. If I don't, you go unpunished and I will leave." And I was like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, what the fuck? Sometimes I question my decisions on why did I continue reading this book? I fucking finished this almost 600-page book. Okay, well, she runs and hides. And I know I'm laughing, okay? But this is so. This scene is why I wanted to bleach my eyes, okay? And having to get reminded. But basically, he takes her into her, I think it's like a sunroom or something, but it's like all glass. And I cannot read this aloud, but he gets on top of her and he pulls out a gun. He uses the gun for stuff that you can imagine. I can't say it aloud, okay? This was fucking disgusting, okay? And cause I knew my friend had told me there's stuff with a gun. And I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, this would have been, bear with me, fine. Um, but the problem that I have is that he does this without consent. He literally sexually assaults her, okay? So that was, what the fuck? And this is romanticized and it's so fucking disgusting, okay? And after this, I was not, because in the beginning I was having fun. I was like, okay, this is really bad and this is really insane, but like it's fun, okay? I'm having, after this, nothing was fun anymore. I was just like, what the fuck am I reading? And he basically tells her that she might not like it now, but she will later. Don't you worry about it. And that was that fucking scene. And then I didn't take any notes for like a good 30 pages because I was just like, what the fuck? And then we get to his POV. Afterwards, he's like gone home, And he says, I know how fucked up that is, to take something without consent. I know that's what I'm fighting against every day. I love how he's so self-aware of what he's doing. I hated this so much. And then he goes on to say, because he's like talking about her and like basically justifying to himself why what he did was like fine, I guess. And he goes like, her actions speak an entirely different language than her words, a language filled with desire and pleasure. She just hasn't learned to translate it yet. I don't think that's how it works, my dude, okay? What the fuck? And he loves having his little like speeches and his little moments. So he goes on, not because I'm psychotic and delusional. I'm not going to make a goddamn shrine of her and convince myself that we were destined to be together by gods or whatever weird shit people believed in these days. That's something at least, okay? At least he's not completely crazy. And then he goes on and on about how, oh, but like he's doing this because he doesn't want her to fall in love with him as a good man because he's not a good man. So he needs to just like be as bad as possible. So when she falls in love with him, it will be the real him. Blah, 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 blah. Fucking yapping and yapping about all this stuff that I really don't care about. We continue on with his plot of saving all these women and children because he's such a good guy. We like continue this plot keeps going where he's trying to infiltrate this, I don't know what to call them, cult? This cult of creepy old men doing human sacrifices and eating people. Yes, that is also a plot in this book. So he's trying to infiltrate this cult, I guess. And he's making friends with this guy called Mark, I think his name was, and like some other dudes who are doing this weird shit. Then we also have Addie, who's now become like really after she has found out that her great grandmother was murdered, and she also had a stalker. She's become really interested in this unsolved murder case, so now she wants to solve it, and her friend wants to like help her. And they're like sitting down and having a talk, and she's telling her about like these letters as well and how her great grandmother was also in love with her stalker. And her friend says, they're talking about Sade now. Her friend says, I think he just really, really wants to be with you and is handling it in a very creepy fucking manner. I I would argue that stalking is a crime and not a way to show affection, but I could be wrong. You tell me. Also, I just want to say, like, the later half of this book, I literally skipped over the spicy scenes because they were so fucking long and boring, okay? I'm sorry, but they were. Sage shows up again, and he's doing stuff without consent again, and he tells her that he wants her to call him daddy, and I wanted someone to shoot me. Ew. And then he also calls her, or he says, if you were my little girl, which I just think is really, really weird when he's fighting people who are into little girls. I think that's a very weird way of putting it, okay? And yeah, okay. Something about the language here is not making sense. And then now she's like trying to convince herself why he's not dangerous. And she's like, oh, well, he won't hurt me. And I'm like, girly, I think he already did, but I digress. Okay, well, she is starting to fall for her stalker, which is really fucking weird, but okay, I guess. And she says this. This is a bit long, so bear with me. But she says, but I know that I would have woken up the next day and hated myself because I would have slept with a stalker, a murderer, and a man who has forced himself on me on several occasions. I would have slept with a man who doesn't respect my boundaries, my personal space, or the word no. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that's exactly what's about to happen. How do I accept that? How do I toss away the moral compass that's been directing my entire life for a man that I should loathe, but I don't? I just don't. He's all those things, but he's also one of the most admirable men I've ever met. The devotion and passion he has for saving women and children stolen away from their homes and lives, he's doing something massive. An admirable man, she says, right after saying all the bad stuff that he's done to her. And this is where my thing comes in with just because he's doing good things doesn't make up for all the bad stuff that he's done. It just doesn't, okay? It's really fucked up that his bad actions are being justified because he's doing good things. It it doesn't work like that, okay? You can't just go force yourself on someone and then go save someone else and then like that equals out. That's not how it works. Anyways, she's falling in love with him, okay? Huh? I'm sorry. Pardon. What the fuck? How? Huh? We're back to great grandmother murder plot now, and she's telling Sade about it, and he now thinks that he might be like a reincarnation of her grandmother's stalker, and like she's a reincarnation of her great grandmother, whatever. And she's like, "Oh, you just like the idea of stalking me for several lifetimes." And I think he said something like, "Oh yeah, I do." Something, whatever. I was, oh my god, the amount of times I rolled my eyes while reading this book. And then he starts yapping again because he loves to do that. And he says, I also love the possibility that I've fallen in love with you in each life. Okay, I cannot read that. I'm sorry. I would have to bleep all of that. He said something very crude. Anyways, he said, so what did I tell you, little mouse? That you couldn't escape me. If it's real, then I've chased you across time and space and you've never been able to get away. Well, I guess not. Um, he's so romantic. Okay. Then there's a little bit of a schmexy scene where he literally has a bent over railing like over a cliff. And the only thought in my head was just like, please just push me over. Please. Me out of my misery. He loves talking. He loves talking. But he gives like a big speech about everything that he does. And then he ends it with like, and the reason I stalk you, little mouse, is because I want to. Everything I do in life is my choice. I choose my morals. I choose the ones that are worth saving and the ones that are worth killing. And I choose you. Very ironic how it's all about his choice. You know, this might not be like completely in chronological. I cannot say that word, chronological order, but she is at like a cafe or like a restaurant or bar or something, and Sade walks in with this guy Mark that he's trying to like trick, so he can go and unveil their whole like murder plot. And Mark sees her, and now that's not very good because now he's aware of Addie, and she's so fucking beautiful that obviously any man would want her, and these guys are really fucking creepy and they like to kidnap people. So obviously Sade, who's also in this undercover going by Sack. So he goes over and he's like, "Oh, that's my girlfriend." And now they are fake dating, so we also have a fake dating trope. And Mark basically goes, "Oh, I know your great grandmother, and like I know stuff about what happened. But if you want to find out, you have to go to this party, and I will tell you." And obviously, Sadie's like, "No, no, no." But Addie's like, "Oh yeah, I want to know." So they have to go to this party now. And I have to be honest with you. Again, I was so fucking bored when reading this book. I don't remember what this Mark dude told her, but I'm something about how he like knew her and her great granddad and how her great granddad was not like a good person or something like that, but I'm not sure. And also he's just really fucking creepy. Sade is now again called admirable by Addie's friend, because she also knows what he does for a living because she works for him. So they go to this party and she's still trying to solve this murder with her great grandmother. Also, have you noticed how I haven't once mentioned how she's a writer? So yeah, I had completely forgotten again. But her and her friends look through all these letters or notes that we've seen throughout the book. And it's basically just her great grandmother talking about her stalker and how she's falling in love with him, and she's having an affair with her stalker while she's still with her husband, the great granddad. And spoiler alert, the great granddad was the one who did it, which I had already figured out really fucking quickly, because otherwise, if it had been the stalker, that would have been like too obvious. But they find like some more old letters and like a watch and a photo of a watch with some blood on it. I don't remember. But basically, because of this, they figure out that the great granddad was actually the murderer. And then after she died, I'm pretty sure the stalker died of a broken heart or something. Yeah, and they solved this murder. And funnily enough, the world cared so much about this murder case that it was on the TV the next day because they solved the murder. I don't know why they cared so much to show it on TV, but I know I sound like so cynical and like, but I seriously don't care about any of these characters. Sorry, but I don't care, and I don't understand why the town cares about a 70-year-old murder case, but I digress. They solved the murder. Yay! We're back with Sade and his escapades in the cult. He has infiltrated the cult now. Oh, I forgot there's like a whole part of the carnival where stuff happens, and he kills like Mark and all his buddies because they were going after Adeline. So Mark is dead, but he has still infiltrated this cult. Anyways, he's now in like the epicenter of the cult, and he's there during a night where they're sacrificing a child. But luckily, Sade, the cool guy that he is, has very high-ranking FBI friends. Fucking took me out, okay? I'm like, of course he does, because he has a solution for everything. There's nothing he does wrong. Like, what the fuck? It was so funny. So he arrests like a bunch of these like weird cult people. We're almost at the end, okay? I swear. We go further into this cult thing, and he's I had a hard time picturing what this looked like. If it's like a building, in my head, it was like a cavern. I don't know, okay? But he's in here saving this person from being sacrificed and eaten by these cultists, creepy traffickers, cannibalistic men. And that's a sentence. And then suddenly everything explodes and blows up. And then his friend, who's also there, like finds him. And I was like, yes, finally something went wrong. And he just turns around and is like, you. And then the chapter ends. And then we go to Addie's chapter, and she's like driving somewhere. And then someone runs her off the road and they snap her. We find out that it was a guy called Max all along. You want to know who Max is? How insignificant he is. He was one of the guys from that first night her and her friend were out, and she went home with another guy to hook up with him. Max was one of the friends. That's how insignificant he is. And I was just there like, huh? I couldn't even remember who Max was. I was like, who? Who is this guy? Who is Max? I don't know a Max. Like, who is this guy? So yeah, and that's how the book ends, with Adeline getting kidnapped. And I've heard that the second one is even worse. And I know, like, I skipped over like a lot of bits, like all the spicy bits, but I really could not be bothered. He assaults her multiple times, and I was like, what the fuck? And then later on, he is like, oh, I actually like the non-consensual stuff, but like, there's a difference between consensual non-consent and just non-consent. And that's the problem I had with this book, okay? Because the consensual non-consent, fine, I don't care. But it's the non-consent that just makes this like really fucking horrible book. And I hated every single second of it. And how it was romanticized and like turned into something hot and sexy, and I was just like, what the fuck? I saw the plots were just what is going on? Okay, this is just wild. What is happening? Like, we have so many plots going, and it's the most interesting thing about this was, I think, the vigilante stuff, I guess, but I don't. Okay, review time. This is what you're all here for. I gave this book 1 star, and my review read. Let me read my review to you. It is so bad, I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible, so I give you a 1. I'd rather stab my eyes out than look at this book ever again. And I stand by that, okay? This was so fucking bad. And I don't, the craziest thing was reading the Goodreads reviews of this book. Like, how does it have so many stars? Who are these people reading this? Like, its average is 3.98 stars out of like 460,000 reviews. If you have read Haunting Adeline, what were your thoughts? I want to know. What did you think about it? I hated it. I absolutely fucking hated it. But I would love to hear if you liked it. Why did you like it? Just tell me why. I hope this video was somehow somewhat coherent. I don't know. I can never do intros or outros, but I had fun doing this video. I did not have fun reading this book. I finished it. I read all of it. But yes, have a great rest of your day. And I will see you in my next video.